Hey, what's up, guys? We're here with another episode of fan casting, and this time we're doing a live action version of The Incredibles. I'm pretty hyped about this. Nick, I know you are too. So let's get right into it, and let's start off with Mr. Incredible. Who did you end up casting for the role?
Well, Mr. Incredible for me is a good-natured guy with a lot of that dad energy. And I was going back and forth between two picks. One of them, from what I've seen, is a pretty popular fan pick. But I ultimately didn't choose him. That was Patrick Warburton. Hopefully I pronounced that last name correctly. But ultimately the pick I went with was Mr. Michael Chiklis. Hopefully I pronounced that correct as well. He was in the Fantastic Four movies. He played the Thing, not the 2015 version, the one where Chris Evans is the Human Torch, and he did great there. He was in Gotham, and he's a guy who's both able to, and he even played a similar role. I forget the show exactly, but he played a similar like super strong head of a family type role, and so I think he's able to bring that like uh big like showmanship energy, like not showmanship, just like sort of that big like presence that was like on display like when like Mr. in the prologue scene where he's like back in his OG costume, and like even when he gets back into fighting crime again. And he's also able to balance out the tender moments, I think, really, really well. And I just he's able to just in general just like hit everything you need to about the character. He's able to be sweet, he's able to be honest, he's able to be conflicted, and you can 100% believe that he can like take out a train or whatever, which is what Mr. Incredible unfortunately did in the movie. So yeah, that's my pick. I think, and he looks a lot like Mr. Incredible too. I think so. At least like it'd be perfect, in my opinion.
That's a solid pick. I think it's decent. I don't think it's great. I mean, seeing that one of your key pieces of evidence was a TV show you couldn't even remember kind of makes me a little
Yeah, it
nervous
made me
about it.
realize. I was like, oh, am I allowed to curse? Never clap it. I was like, wait, like he actually technically did this, like did a similar thing. I'll have to, yes, but anyway, to keep going.
Yeah, so I had a tough time with Mr. Incredible between two people.
Right,
Now, some of the things that I thought were important to this role is someone who kind of could get that dad energy vibe going,
right.
and someone who could sometimes be a little bit aloof. Um,
Mhm.
so I ended up going with the one and the only Chris Pratt in the role of
Really
Mr. Incredible. Um,
interesting, interesting.
I think he can both play the humor and the seriousness of the role. Uh, you may know him only as Star Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy, or from Parks and Rec. So he definitely has that humorous aspect to him. But he's also very good. He's in a few military movies where he plays serious characters, and he's always good in those. I'm playing that more serious side that Mr. Incredible sometimes has.
What are some of the ones that are coming to mind for you when you like think of that like side of him? For Pratt, I
For
mean.
Chris Pratt, I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. It's shoot.
See,
It's
you
coming to
forgot
me.
too. It's okay. We canceled
No,
out.
no, no. It's coming to me. It's coming to me. I swear. I swear.
By the way, for
I
the
think it's
viewers,
Zero Dark 30.
that's the one from Bigelow, right?
Yes.
Jessica
Yes.
Chastain. Mm.
Yeah. Um, and then there's also the hymn that's kind of not completely serious, but serious-ish in Moneyball. If you've seen that
Oh,
movie.
right. I remember. Yes, he was in Moneyball. I forgot.
So I think there's a lot of different aspects to him, and I think that this is like a fun role that I really think he can embody. I think kind of the physicality of Mr. Incredible is important.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of he's somewhat clumsy, you know what I mean?
Right.
Despite his strength, and I think Chris Pratt kind of embodies clumsy um, as an actor. I think he can play that really well.
Hmm.
So I really like him for that role.
Very interesting. I'll give my full thoughts once we've covered all of our casts.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll let you know who I almost casted in that role.
All right. Cool. Cool.
Um, so moving on to Elastigirl, who did you end up picking?
this was admittedly the trickiest one for me because for those who've seen Incredibles 2, like Elastigirl, she's like she's like she's like the one in the family who's got it most together. She's like the sanest one in the group. And I needed someone who was both like had the like caring, compassionate mom energy and also was able to be a complete like badass at the same time. And so ultimately, I went with Famke Janssen. You may have seen her in the X-Men film. She played Jean Grey. You may have seen her in the James Bond, first Pierce Brosnan James Bond film, GoldenEye. She played one of the assassins named Russian assassin named Xenia Onatop. And honestly, like she is able to just have that like kind of like like in X-Men, for instance, like as Jean Grey, she's like both big sister and mom of the group. She's the one who's like always like focused. She's always the one willing to help out everyone. She never loses her cool, which is another important aspect of Elastigirl. And if you saw her in GoldenEye, she's like can be complete wild force of energy, which I feel can contribute to when she's like just kicking ass all over the place. And I think just very like charming like presence around her. She can be, she's able to like switch between the two sides very easily, and I think no one could top that pick. I think she's perfect for the role.
That's a decent pick. It's not who I would have went with, but yet again, I'm gonna go pretty bold here, and
Go for it, man.
probably not what you expected. I'm gonna go with Rashida Jones as
From the Parks and
Elastigirl.
Rec angle, I see.
Yes, I am going with the Parks
Very
and Rec angle,
interesting.
even though I've only seen like 4 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
No, I've seen a season, but
All right. Yeah.
I liked their chemistry together, and I thought they'd be a really good chemistry fit for that kind of relationship of Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl,
Mhm.
where she can be more serious and when she needs to be
Right.
and get stuff done where he's kind of not really doing much. I think she's fun in roles she's in, even if it's small stuff like tag, or she has one really good scene in The Social Network.
Yes, she isn't. I remember. Yes, she was in
Yeah,
social.
she's one of the lawyers in The Social Network, and she has one of the like most small, quiet scenes in the movie. But it's also one of the best scenes talking to Zuckerberg
Right.
um,
Right.
after one of the hearings or whatever. And I just think she could really fit that role well. Um, I think she fits the age range, which is like mid to late 30s to maybe early 40s is probably the range of The Incredibles.
Hmm.
And I just think she could be really fun in the role, and I'm banking on chemistry being a really big factor of making this movie what it is, because that's what makes it, the chemistry between those two characters has to be perfect for this movie to work.
Right. Very interesting. Very interesting. You said you only saw one season of Parks and Rec?
Only one season so far.
Right.
All right, so moving on to Violet. Now, who did you end up casting in the role, and let us know why?
This was another. I don't know. This was like in the middle between like hard and easy because I was like going on her. There's so many like talented like young actresses. I almost considered Anya Taylor-Joy just because she is super super talented. But I also thought like she was a bit too old for the role, which is funny because Anya Taylor-Joy is only like 20, 22 or something. So ultimately, I went with the star of Jojo Rabbit, Thomasin McKenzie, and once I got that idea in my head, I was like, you know what, this really really works because like if you refer to her role in JoJo, she's like again to use the word like she's a very compassionate side, but she also is like very like quiet, like strong presence, kind of similar to what I said about Michael Chiklis. She's just able to just you be in the room and like just like she's there, which is kind of ironic because of course her power is to turn invisible. I just refer to the scenes like later in the film when Violet starts like taking charge and starts to be like more confident with her abilities. And I think Thompson McKenzie is just really able to pull off the sensitive side, the kind of like scared girl, like the scared part of her, and also just be able to like when Violet like zones in and focuses, like Thompson McKenzie will be able to like pull it off no problem. And I also think I think at least compared to Anya Taylor-Joy, I think age-wise, he was closer to Violet. That's my pick.
Wow, that's a very good pick.
Thank you.
I think you bring up a good case, but I'm going to try and make my case for why it should be someone else.
All right.
And I'm going to go with someone who you may unfortunately know from the Kissing Booth, Joey King. She's 21 years old, but if you've seen her, she can play a younger role. I don't think it's that difficult for her to play a high schooler, as you've seen in the Kissing Booth. I think she's won an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Series, even in a movie that I don't think is necessarily the best film. I think she still stands out as far as charisma. And from everything I've heard and the little bits I've seen of the act, she's fantastic and has that sort of emotional range that you kind of need. And she has that kind of hidden under the surface quiet emotions, even though you don't see it in the Kissing Booth. In other places you can't see that, and it's very clear she has that talent as an actress. So that's who I'm picking as Violet.
Not bad, not too bad of a choice. Not too bad of a choice at all.
So moving on, we have Dash. Now, who did you end up going with for the role?
This one, honestly, just once it popped into my head, I was like, this is perfect. So once my fan cast for Dash popped into my head, I was like, this is it. There's no way. And I went with Mr. Jack Dylan Grazer. Grazer. Anyway, I just based on his performance from both Shazam and both from It, he has that just crazy energy, and he's like both able, like in Shazam for instance, he's like the smart ass. He's the one, like, even though he was the one with the crutches, he was the smart ass. He was the one always like just saying stuff. He was like close to like a motor mouth, even just like and you need that for like a kid who's like the youngest in the family, who looked like he was in elementary school, who's like competitive, and who was like life and everyone else is moving too slow for him. And I thought his performance in Shazam like really reflected that. And even in the moments in It too, he has that, like, the parts of him that are still like, he can portray vulnerable, he can portray like scared, and there are moments that pop up like in the Incredibles, but also like the way it appears in the Incredibles is like they're kind of like tinged with comedy. Like I remember when like they're in the water and Dash is like, "We're dead." He's like, and he's like panicking, but it's also like kind of like funny just to see this kid like freak out. And I just remember scenes like from It where like Dylan Grazer's like just freaking out with the rest of the group, but it's also like just like very in a witty way, like just hilarious to watch him. And I think just between those two performances, I think he'd be such an epic Dash, and I think he'd be and again, I think age-wise he still works too, so I think he'd be an epic pick.
Wow, that's a very good pick. But I would say I've been between two people for the past few days that I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
And I want to shout out Jacob Tremblay, because that's who I went with.
Okay.
I almost went with, and I'll just give him a quick shout out, Roman Griffin Davids, I believe is his last name,
Right.
from Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
Before you stole my pick for the last one and ruined my whole chemistry
really?
argument. So I ended up going with Noah Tremblay,
Mhm.
and I think he's just a great young actor. If you've seen him in what's it called? Good Boys.
Good boys. Okay.
Good Boys it's not the best movie, but
Mhm.
he is hilarious in it, and I think he has a ton of potential. Have you seen the movie Wonder?
I have not. I've seen trailers and bits when it was like when the marketing was going strong, so I know what you're talking about. Yes.
He's fantastic in that one, as far as like a more emotional type role. And in Room, he's also fantastic.
Oh,
I think
he was in Room with Brie
yeah,
Larson.
he's the kid in Room.
Okay.
And then he's in Good Boys. I think he's one of the best, like, very young actors, and definitely someone to keep an eye on. He's only 14, and he's been in two movies that I hold in really high regard, and one I think she's really good in. That's not necessarily the best film, but I think he'd be really perfect for this role. Good Boys showed me that he can have this kind of, he's unaware of like real world consequences and that sort of thing.
Right.
So he makes irrational decisions, and he showed me that he can completely do that. And so I am 100% on board with him being
Very,
my Dash.
very interesting. Not too bad at all. Not too bad.
No, it's pretty fantastic. And speaking of fantastic,
Pretty
we're gonna go,
incredible.
yeah, pretty incredible. We're gonna go to our next pick. It gets a little cold here with Frozone. So who did you end up picking?
I told you last time, our last fan cast was the Avengers, and how, do you remember how I was saying my friends were really pushing this one guy to be casted as Thor? I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go cast him in this because I think this is a far better pick for him than being cast as Thor. For those who don't know, I'm referring to Mr. Donald Glover, Mr. Childish Gambino himself. I think Samuel Jackson's voice as Frozone was like, it's iconic. It's like, an irreplaceable thing. But I think Donald Glover can match that, like, showmanship of, like, I suppose, like that, like very like stylish, like show off type way. We know he can be like cool and charming undercover. I like even his small bit in like Spider-Man Homecoming, where like he just does not like, he's like displays no care, like that, like Spider-Man's interrogating him at first. He just kind of like maintains his cool. You can look for charm pretty much anywhere, any role concerning Donald Glover, Community, Solo, Atlanta, even. He's he's able to do charm. He's able to remain cool. Pun intended, undercover. I remember the scene in Incredibles when they accidentally break into a jewel store and like he's standing off for the cops. I think Donald Glover would be able to sell that 100%. He'd be able to like remain just calm, and but you totally believe he's in control of the situation. I think he'd be a perfect fit for Frozone. Just picturing him saying the iconic "Where's my super suit" line, like that was it. That's all you need to sell me.
See, I can picture someone who can say that line even better.
Interesting.
And that person is Chris Rock.
Chris Rock, as in Madagascar. Chris, he's in Madagascar, right? His voice is.
Yeah, I think he is, but that's not
Oh,
what I'm thinking about him
oh,
from. I'm
okay.
thinking about him if you've seen all the comedy he's done. He's gotten into more serious roles if you've seen any of Fargo, which recently came out, I believe, on FX. Um, and he's been in a lot of comedy movies because that's, what he's typecast in.
Right.
But he has that cool aspect to him. It's Chris Rock. Like, how can he not? And if you think about someone saying, "Where's my super suit?" and it can't be Sam Jackson, you cannot. There's no argument that Chris Rock is not going to be the next best thing for
Chris
saying, "Where's
Rock.
my super suit?"
Chris Rock. Not interesting choice. Interesting choice. I would have assumed you would go with someone more like, I don't know, more high profile than Chris Rock. I guess I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but that's an interesting choice.
Well, I already have a pretty expensive cast with Chris Pratt starring in the film, so I
It's true.
needed someone who could both be good but not be over the top budget
Yeah.
wise.
Balance the books.
Yeah, I got to balance the books. But moving on to our penultimate pick, Syndrome. Who did you end up picking for the role?
So this was another tricky one, and I was stuck between, again, I was stuck between two. And ultimately, because Syndrome he's even more of a showman than Frozone is. He's like, he's selling to the world that he's a superhero. He was like, he's selling all like these like gadgets and whatever. He's like rubbing it in Mr. Incredible's face that like he's like here to one up him. But he also has that like demented, like sadistic side. Like he truly like has kind of like a sociopath, or I suppose like just where he like is just completely willing to like mow anyone down to get to his objective. And I almost went with TJ Miller, but I did and because I thought he would bring that manic energy really well, but I didn't because I feel like, at least from what I've seen of him, I don't know how well he can do like a serious like that bring that serious side. So ultimately, I went with, and this is probably this is the bold one. I went with Sacha Baron Cohen because I think he can. We know he can. Look, no, look, hear me out, hear me out. We know he can do like crazy and energetic, and I'm not even like referring to Borat. You could point to his role as like the Madagascar films and like as like what's his face, King Julian or whatever. He's able to be big and bold and like completely like even if someone else in the room has the spotlight, he's able to like grab it like regardless. And I think like even like glimpsing stuff like his parts in like Trial of Chicago 7, which I hear he does really well, and he's able to be very impactful and like just intense. And I think I don't know, I was like between him and TJ Miller, I was like, at least I know Cohen can do the serious role and I don't know about Miller. So that's who I went with. Mr. Borat or whatever his full name is.
Well, I have to say, I have a few problems with that.
Fair enough.
But we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. I ended up going with Jesse Plemons.
Interesting choice.
Now, you've seen him probably in Game Night where he's kind of wants to be a part of the group, right? But he can't quite be a part of it. They don't really want him to be. He doesn't quite fit in. Very much first part of the film syndrome, right? And then you have to get to the second part of the film syndrome where he's this full out kind of crazy villain. Evil, despicable to the core. And that's where you watch the Black Mirror episode, USS Callister, and you see the completely evil, twisted, like entrapping people side of him.
Mm-hmm.
That completes both aspects of the syndrome character.
Mm-hmm.
And he fits the age range well, which we'll get into age ranges with this later when we talk about our overall thoughts.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, that's my pitch for syndrome right there.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the final pick, we have Edna. So who did you end up going with for the iconic role of Edna?
This was the hardest one. I started with this one because I was like, I want to get her out of the way because I know I'll be here forever. And I was like, oh my god, like Edna wasn't even like voiced by like a female. It was voiced by the director Brad Bird. He just adopted a whole other voice, and it's like, just the mannerisms are just so iconic and so just like unique to the character. And I was like, okay, like what would work really well? And after doing some research, I stumbled upon a little show called NCIS Los Angeles. I think I think you had a similar thought process from your reaction, but I stumbled upon a little show called NCIS Los Angeles, where lies an actress named Linda Hunt. And if you see a picture of her, just on looks alone, she is live action Edna. Just for sheer looks alone, she is Edna. She's got like the short height. She's got the glasses. She got the black hair, the specific haircut too. And that would have been enough alone. But of course, we have to count for acting, and she kills it. And I was watching clips of her just to make sure, like, is this a good pick? And she is the same, like. She's like this, like, for those who would watch NCIS Los Angeles, it's like a bunch of like, it's cops, like hero cops and like, big, like, big guys, typical action heroes. She is in command of the room every time, no matter like who's in there, no matter how big their muscles, she is in control of the room, and all eyes and all attention is on her. And that's because she is able to just like, again, like grab the spotlight and just be able to be just completely command the room and completely just have everyone's attention. She has the wit, she has the sass, she has like this sort of like like chop chop let's go like type energy, like always like running, always going, and takes no BS from anyone. And it's like holy cow, like if they ever do remake this in the future, and with the way Disney's going, there's a high chance they might in the future. Like, she is such a perfect pick. Like, it'd be crazy, like, not to pick her.
Well, I don't think it'd be crazy because I think there is a crazy good pick that I have, which is Helena Bonham Carter.
Helena Bonham Carter. Interesting.
Now, You're a fan of Enola Holmes. I am too. We recently reviewed it, and one of the things we said is that kind of energy that she has throughout the film
Right.
is a very similar energy to what we're looking for with Edna.
Hmm.
Because whenever she's in the room, she's the most powerful, and everyone else knows it. She's controlling everything that's going on. She is the energy to the scene, and she and Helena Bonham Carter can completely do that. She has a filmography besides NCIS to prove that she's capable of that. She has more than one role that shows her. She's in, she's in Fight Club. She's in The King's Speech. She's in Harry Potter, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Ocean's 8. She's in too. Planet of the
True.
Apes.
This is true.
I mean, she has a massive filmography that proves that she has a quality of, um, just the acting quality to be able to handle that sort of role. And I think, she may not be the same size or the exact same look, but I don't think you need the exact same size or same look. It's the energy that really matters in how she controls things. It's less about how she physically looks, because you can change with makeup or hairstyling and costume. You can get all that different stuff. So that's my pitch for her as Edna.
Very interesting. I've been saying that a lot, but definitely some very interesting picks all around. Um, all right. I think, are we gonna give our overall thoughts now?
Yeah, we're gonna give our overall thoughts. So we'll each, like, I'll go through my cast first, and then you can give your thoughts, and then we'll go the opposite.
Okay, sounds good.
So from the following: Chris Pratt as Mr. Incredible, Rashida Jones as Elastigirl. Um, I forgot who I said for Violet.
King, Joey King.
Yes, Joey King. I don't know how I forgot that. Maybe you took someone that I wanted to pick.
Hmm.
Jacob Tremblay as Dash, uh, Chris Rock as Frozone, Jesse Plemons as Syndrome, and then Helena Bonham Carter as Edna. Who
Right.
did you think was my best cast, and who did you think was my worst?
I'm going it over all of it in my head. I think, this is interesting. I honestly think uh, either um, Jacob Tremblay, Joey King, maybe Chris Rock might be the ones like I can buy the most. Um, for like all the reasons that you said they'd be good. I haven't seen too much of Chris Rock, so that's why I can't 100% throw myself behind it. But I do buy what you say about Jacob Tremblay, just like attaching like good voice to it. Like that's like um, that was definitely a good booster for him. I think Joey King is actually like I think pretty good. She was in an episode of The Flash. She's like one of the more memorable like villain of the weeks, and I think I buy her as Violet. I definitely see that. Um, Jesse Plemons as Syndrome. I don't know, but I think because I've only seen him in a few things. I've only seen him in Breaking Bad and Charlie Kaufman's most recent movie. I'm thinking of Ending Things, and those two roles are like the farthest thing from what I picture to be Syndrome. From what I saw a little bit of him, and he was in Fargo too, like season two, I think. And a lot of those roles he excels in being quiet in quiet and intense and like he's not like he's a man of a few words really, and like Syndrome is a showman essentially, and so that's the pick I can picture. The most, granted I haven't seen Game Night, so maybe he does something there that I haven't anticipated from him. Rashida Jones as Elastigirl, I'm okay with that. I haven't seen much of her beyond Parks and Rec, but like I
Mhm.
think she definitely has like because like she in a way her role in Parks and Rec is the same, like she's the sanest one in the room, so she often is like the mom at the moment, so I think that works. Chris Pratt and Helena Bonham Carter. I'm because for me, a lot of what Chris Pratt does are variations on Andy Dwyer, and Andy Dwyer is not what I picture to be Mr. Incredible. I can definitely see what you're saying from like certain military roles, but like I don't picture Mr. Incredible being like as like like as a much like look at Jurassic World or Star Lord. Like Chris Pratt, um, he can be the action hero, but he always has that specific brand of like humor and wit that I don't normally wouldn't normally attach to Mr. Incredible. Like Mr. Incredible is, and especially in the first film, is like the guy who has to he's dealing with his own like sense of like legacy and identity. He's like asking himself like, what do I do here? And I don't know if I personally see like Chris Pratt like internalizing all that, just because often he plays variations on Andy Dwyer for me, so that's why
Interesting.
I don't know if
You
I can fully throw my get behind that.
you
As for
couldn't buy him in a midlife crisis?
I think like I don't know, just because like it's the same. He's like Robert Downey Jr. He's like plays the same a variation of the same role relatively in each movie, and I just wouldn't touch the classic Chris Pratt role to a Mr. Incredible type role. I just feel like I don't know. Maybe if they did like a prequel, I'd buy it, but for like the more like kind of like broken down version, I don't know. Helena Bonham Carter, I was not expecting for Edna, but honestly, the more you said it, I was like, you know what? I can buy it. She's like a very versatile actress, very underrated. And so I'm like, you know what? To go up as Edna, I think that would be definitely entertaining. To go up to see her play against like just like Rashida Jones, for instance, would be really entertaining. And I don't know. Yeah, that's about it. I would say your Violet Dash are your kids are the one that's the one I most can get behind.
Hmm. So why don't you run through your picks quickly, and I'll give a little breakdown on who I thought was good and who I thought needed some work.
Michael Chiklis as Mr. Incredible, Famke Janssen as Elastigirl, Thomasin McKenzie as Violet, Jack Dylan Grazer as Dash, Childish Gambino as Frozone, Sacha Baron Cohen as Syndrome, and then Linda Hunt as Edna.
So the only one I couldn't buy at all was Sacha Baron Cohen.
Is it the age?
It's the age is it just throws him out for me. He's too old. I see what you say about being a showman, but I don't think I just don't quite see Sacha Baron Cohen being able to do it in like the quite the right way. I don't know how to explain it
No, I
exactly.
think I get what you're saying. Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
Thomas McKenzie is who I was gonna pick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought she was probably the perfect actress for that spot. To be
Yeah.
perfectly honest,
Mm-hmm.
I'm iffy on Michael Chiklis. I see where you're coming from. It's not who I'd want to share top billing of a film, to be perfectly honest, and that was part of my thinking going into it. But I don't think he's necessarily a bad pick.
Okay.
And then you said Frankie Jansen,
Yeah.
Fanke.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her. I don't know what she's in, so I'm not really that familiar with her work.
Okay. I got you. I got you.
So I can't say yes or no to that, to be perfectly honest. I don't remember the X-Men movies to be particularly great movies, so I haven't watched them again in a while.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Got you.
Linda Hunt, I mean, is a really good Edna cast. I think it's a little conventional, but I think she'd also play the role perfectly, so it would definitely work. And then Frozone as Childish Gambino is one of those things that I'm mad I didn't think of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm happy I didn't go with it at the same time.
Okay. Got
So,
you.
in honor of Community, I'm just going to quickly hit you with the darkest timeline, the timeline I almost went with for my picks for The Incredibles. I almost went with.
Oh wait, no, you go first. You go first.
I almost went with The Rock as Mr. Incredible, Regina King as Elastigirl, Amanda Stenberg as Violet, Caleb McLaughlin as Dash. Frozone would have been same thing. Chris Rock. Syndrome would have still been Jesse Plemons, and Helena Bonham Carter would have still been Edna. So I basically changed the family.
Yeah, interesting. I wish you picked a different Stranger Things kid for Dash. Like I would have preferred that. Regina King. I feel she'd definitely be. I don't know if that's the right role for her, but I feel like she wouldn't do bad in it either.
Yeah.
As for The Rock, I mean, we know he'll be okay, like in the action scenes at least, in the costume.
Hey, he can act. He can act. People don't give him enough credit for his ability acting wise.
I got
It's
you.
developed over the past like 5 years.
Right, I got you. Wait, what did you think about my Flash Dash casting, Mr. Incredible?
Dash
Jack
was who?
Dylan, Jack Dylan Grazer.
Oh, I thought that was a good casting.
Mm,
I had the same problem I think you did, which was age.
right,
Um, that was kind of what killed me. I think like Jack Dylan Grazer, he's awesome, and I think like attitude wise and acting wise, he'd be perfect for the role.
mhm,
But he almost feels older, so I think you can play Dash as older if you want, but possibly. But at the same time, I think that him being young kind of plays into his character.
right,
So it's kind of a trade off. But I definitely see it from an acting perspective because he's a great actor.
right. Interesting
So
stuff. Interesting stuff.
definitely. So that wraps up our Incredibles fan casting. Let us know what you think. Should I have went with a darker timeline? Um, what did you guys think of our castings? Were there people we missed out on? Was there a terrible casting, a great casting? Let us know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all.